Good morning. It is a beautiful day in Zamunda, and it's too early for me, especially on my day off. Happy 4th to those that celebrate, but I really don't celebrate it. But today is worth celebrating because it is my grandmother's birthday. I believe she's either 84 or 85. So happy birthday to my mom. But real quick, I was having a discussion with one of my homies who actually happens to be I believe, a mental health counselor. And I told him that, recently, after some meditating and just listening to my intuition and what Spirit was talking about, the names of the innocent will be protected. So I never drop any names. Um, but I was having a conversation with him about someone in particular, and I was listening very carefully because God is talking all the time, but God doesn't talk to everybody, but just in different ways. But that's a whole nother segment. But anyway, I was basically telling, my homie, I said, this particular person, I understand. I very much understand that sometimes people have a hard time reconciling, or should I say reconcile, with their past because of childhood trauma, childhood abandonment, and why certain people go into their shells more so these days because of being highly triggered. And as you evolve, you come to understand that your triggers are your way of telling you that something's wrong. Something needs to be, addressed. And it's not something to fear, but it's there to help you, because the more you're triggered, the more you realize it, the more you see it, the more you can actually work through it. And that's that growth, that mental growth, that spiritual growth, and growth in all sense of the words. But I was telling him, I said, yeah, I understand that sometimes, like I said, people have a hard time reconciling with their past because they go back wondering how I could have made something better at that time. And the thing is that during that time, that person, you can only do what you can do. So stop beating yourself up over the past. It's really sad because it reminds me of when my brother, it reminded me of when my brother was living, and he has 3 girls, and his oldest, and they started to have more of a relationship. And I remember seeing the pictures and seeing how happy they both were. And then my brother suddenly passed away, and I saw what she went through, and how hurt and how mad she was. And I pray for her every day. She's my niece. I love her dearly, but I understand because I know there were times where she was trying to figure out, if I would have did this or that, things would have been better. But certain things happened the way they did. And a lot of times we wish that we can go back and change the past and do something better, especially after someone that we love and was building a relationship with, goes on to the next stage and goes to the upper room. And that part I get. But then it's also the other part that this other person, has a very close relationship, or had a very close relationship with his mom. And I understand how important that is, and that, I remember at one point in time he told me that he didn't realize his mother was his best friend until she passed. And I know that weighs heavy on him, on his heart, on his mind. And if he ever listens to this, if he never does, that's okay. But this is going to be for somebody. Stop beating yourself up. There's nothing more that you could have done to keep them or keep her here. She may not be with you physically, but it's like she's on the other side of the wall and she's listening all the time. But you are not the past mistakes, whether they were your mistakes or others' mistakes. You are not your past. You're not. And it's high time that you fully forgive yourself for that, because we are all in the realm of happiness is a choice. Just like it's a choice to be sad, happiness is a choice. Now, everybody has their different grieving period. What works for one may not work for another, but you go through the grieving period and then you start stepping into that healing period, because our loved ones on the other side understand that we are missing them at the same time, but they also do not want us to be unhappy in the life that we currently have. Yes, happiness will always be a choice. It's your choice. How happy you really want to be is ultimately, left to you. But in hindsight, especially with I think we have a full moon or a new moon coming. We're in Cancer season. It's a very emotional time. And as whatever, your moon sign is, look up the big three, including your Mars and your Venus, your sun, moon, and rising, and you'll get the full, gist of yourself. But there's a lot of energetic shifts going on. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with going into, hermit mode. Or if you're a Cancer, like my dad's a Cancer, my grandmother's a Cancer, like I said, today's her birthday. Going into your shell is not a bad thing, but take into consideration how you go into your shell. Make sure you come out better than when you went in. Number one. Number two, do not allow your shell to be a comfort zone, because you do not want to die in your comfort zone. I think I said this in one of my past posts, and it was something that an ex of mine had said, that the biggest dreams die in graveyards, for the simple fact that they're not realized. So when you leave this plane of existence, you want to leave this plane empty, because you're telling God, I used everything you gave me, and I'm leaving here empty. But through the trials and tribulations through life, and life is hard, and I always like to say, we're all just walking each other home. But you get to ultimately decide how that walk's going to be. It can be a very pleasant walk, or it could be a walk like you're walking through hell. You ultimately get to decide that. But it's time to really forgive yourself. Like, honestly, wholeheartedly forgive yourself. Your past is your past. You are not your past mistakes. Who are you in this present moment? Certain people will join, certain clubs, and the club ends up being their identity. But who are you before the club? Who were you before you became a mother? Who were you before you became a father? Like, who are you, at your core? There's people, I'm telling you, we as humans, we make some really bad decisions, some really effed up stuff, if you really think about it. But the only thing being, however you decide to identify God, God's the really one that grants us the grace. And we need to look at that model. There's so much stuff. We are so undone. We are so imperfect. We are really effed up at times. And nobody can talk about somebody being effed up, because it's like, yo, you got some shit too. But God is a forgiving God. God sees past our faults, our mistakes, everything. And you know what they say, sometimes the person with the most screwed up past can have the most beautiful future. But it's all about choice, how you spend it, how you want to do it. If you listen to people that really don't hold no weight in their opinions, why are you still dealing with them? Why are you still talking to them if they held no nutritional value to your life? Like, why? Dismiss them immediately, because the crab in the barrel mentality is, you can see it all over the place, all over social media. You go outside your door, you can see it, and people assimilating to stuff that's really, like I said, has no nutritional value to their life. So where are you going to cut the fat out? Go get your happiness. Go be happy. This is, this one life. Go live that shit up. Go do it. Nobody has power over you unless you willingly give it away. Like, no. Go be happy. It's over. Times of being sad is over. It's time to elevate. It's time to grow, mentally, physically, emotionally. Don't put love as a person. Attach it to God, because God will always be love at the end of the day. God is love. God is grace. God is merciful. And, if God be before you, who can be against you? And that's my morning spiel. So go have the day you think you deserve. Matter of fact, have a day better than you had yesterday and enjoy this present moment. Love who loves you, whatever. Do what it do. Be good to yourself as well as to others. Peace. Oh, skirt. By the way, one more thing I forgot that I left out. Stop paying attention to how many glasses have been knocked over. Turn around and notice the one glass is completely full. Life is all about perspective, but you can't view life through blinders. Sometimes God's redirection turns you to look at that glass that is still full. You still have a chance on creating the life, creating the love, creating all the abundance that you want for yourself. But you got to do the damn work. Go do the work.